What's up, everybody? Welcome back to another episode of Sports Talk with Hawk. We just finished yesterday our Who Did They Sign series, and we're kind of going to culminate everything today with one final podcast just to kind of put a bow on everything with the free agency period thus far, especially since by the time you're listening to this, we are like a week and a half away from the NFL draft. Huh? So with that in mind, free agency is basically done. And let's wrap it up here. And then we're going to look at who's left. Who are the players that your team still may be able to sign, whether as a veteran presence, whatever it may be, still may be able to sign to help fill in the gaps of leadership, presence, role playing, whatever it may be. So, all in all, who won free agency outright? Who was the top team in free agency? Well, I don't think you can really do that in 32 teams. That is a judgment call based off of what different aspects, because every team's in a different phase right now. I'll tell you this, though. Let's go to the top three teams. The top three teams, two of them are easy. The Commanders and the Texans flat out have won this free agency period. The Commanders and the Texans have won this free agency period. No doubt, no question, nothing. When you get to the third team, yeah, you can probably split hairs a bunch of different ways. Um, Honestly, I still think because of what it does for the team, the Rams took care of the most issues. The Falcons are there as well. Um, the Jets have made a lot of moves. We don't know if they're going to work out, but the Jets have made a lot of moves. They could easily be there. Um, but I think the Rams really want it. The the signing of the two guards, Dotson and Jonah Jackson, just to me gives a really clear picture of how McVay understands his team. He's going to run the ball more this year. Kyren Williams, I'm so happy I have him in fantasy. Kyren Williams is going to run ragged this year, keep the fumbling problems down, and he will be easily a top three back in the NFL this year in yardage. They're going more run. Colby Parkinson with Tyler Higbee will be a perfect two tight end set. It's going to look a little old school, and I think they're just going to beat you with just being better at playing football. Texans make the big splashy moves. The Commanders make a bunch of moves to equate to building up a team, building a roster. Adam Peters needs to be given a lot of credit. And obviously, this is all pre-draft. The losing teams, I mean, is there really any question? It's the Cowboys. It's the Cowboys. What have they done? What can they do? They strapped themselves, they made themselves basically really not able to do much. I mean, that's really as simple as it gets. They put themselves in a corner. The Broncos signed a bunch of C plus free agents. I mean, the Colts only basically re-signed their own players. They did nothing in actual free agency. They re-sign their own guys. They get nothing outside of it. Easily for me, the Cowboys lose. The Colts have lost. And I think the Broncos, I mean, they're strapped. They can't. I just don't think they can compete. They made that decision, and there's the repercussions of it. But it is interesting that you see two teams. One is a storied franchise. Washington's a storied franchise. And then one franchise who sees a window, who got it right. Both teams have San Francisco ties. DeMeco Ryans was a player for the Texans. Yes. More importantly, he was the defensive coordinator in San Francisco. He saw what a team needs to be able to go to the Super Bowl. Washington, their GM, is now from San Francisco. Credit San Francisco with being a very storied franchise, building and growing from inside. They lose people every year, and they keep replacing them with more smart people. Well done. But free agency is basically done. So now you're going into draft, post-draft free agency. Yes, that's what I call it. I call it post-draft free agency. It's to fill the holes you couldn't fill in the draft. Going into a draft, you have 7 picks right up front. If you haven't traded any, you've got 7 picks. You leave 10 holes on your team. That way you have options with each one of these picks. You don't want to strap yourself in to having to do this, having to do that. You don't want to only be looking at 3 position players, 3 positions. You want to have options. You got to have options. So you can legitimately give yourself 10 spots where we want to sign somebody. We want to get a new guy in here. You only have 7 picks. The other 3 will be filled with free agency. That's really what we're looking at. And we've got a pretty extensive list here. And we're just going to run through it. We do have the age, I believe, with most of these. I believe we do have the age of the players as well. And age is definitely playing a factor now. Don't know why, but it is. So here we go. Start out right away. Justin Simmons, the safety from the Denver Broncos. Now, this could be because he's too expensive. That is a very high potential reason. To me, he is easily a B+ safety. I'd still put him on the A- list. I know he's got different things. I get it. But we're talking football. Football doesn't have a lot of safeties like Justin Simmons. He's 30 years old. You can sign him to a 2 or 3 year deal and be pretty safe. So he is one of the 5 free agents I'm really anxious to see where they go. The next free agent, OBJ. Honestly, I don't care. If OBJ's smart, he'll just wait, sign with a team that's in the top 3 or 4, whether the AFC or NFC, sign with them somewhere around week 9 or 10. They are not going to make a move. They can sign him. He can go to the playoffs. You get to the playoffs, anything can happen. So that's what I'm going to say OBJ will probably do. That's my guess. Andrews Pete, the 30-year-old, he's truly a guard. He played tackle for the Saints last year, but it's an offensive lineman. But here's the thing. This draft is offensive line heavy. Now, a team like Buffalo, I think, could easily end up going after him. Any team that needs to shore up their offensive line a little bit, like I would love it if the Colts would go after him because I think he could switch to right guard pretty easily. Tennessee could sign him to a 1-year deal while they're trying to rebuild that offensive line. There's definitely teams that need offensive line help. And Andrews Pete would be a professional, adult, experienced guy, 30 years old, 2 or 3 year deal you could do, or you just do a 1 year deal. That's fine as well. Bud Dupree was not re-signed by the Falcons, which I thought was going to happen. You guys know December. I thought that was definitely going to happen. It is not. As of right now. Now it still could, but the Falcons are really working on getting their youth ready to play this year. They also let go of Calais Campbell, which I know he's going to be further down on this list. But, I think Bud Dupree still could end up back in Atlanta. I think they're trying to see what they get in the draft, and they're going to go from there, which there is nothing wrong with waiting. And if he's still there, you go after him. Bud Dupree had fun last year. So it's 31. Probably only looking at a 1 year deal at this point now for a linebacker / edge rusher. But I think he still could end up back in Atlanta. Then you have the offensive tackle from the Titans. They're not re-signing him. He didn't do good last year. Chris Hubbard. He faltered last year badly. He got run over a lot. He got injured last year. There is that. I just don't see him being much more than a bench tackle now. I don't see him like Andrus Peat, I think, could actually start and fill in. Hubbard, I don't think so. Hubbard, I definitely don't think so. Then there's the offensive guard that was let go from the Jets, Laken Tomlinson. He's 32, but as an offensive lineman, I don't think the age bothers you nearly as much. He's a guard, interior defensive line, always needs help. He's going to get signed to somewhere that didn't get all the offensive line help in the draft that they originally wanted. Then we have another safety, Marcus May. This is one where I could see him going to a team that needs a hybrid safety. He's not outrageously tall. He has dealt with some injuries. I don't expect him to get more than a $3.5 million deal for 1 year, maybe up to $5 million with incentives or whatever. But I do believe he is going to be a veteran presence that you may want in some of these young secondaries. Like the Rams already signed Cameron Curl and Tre'Davious White. I think they'll stick with that. He could go to a team like the Broncos, as they don't want to lose everything in their secondary. He could go to a team like the Titans, who have very young secondary, but they got L'Jarius Sneed. Sneed is still young, though. Sneed is not old. He's still young. This is his first contract re-sign. So there is that aspect to it. The next player that's also still a free agent is cornerback Steven Nelson. I think he's kind of shown that he's not the one-on-one corner that a couple of teams the last 2 years have signed him to try to be. He can't play the guys one-on-one. He is a zone corner and plays that much better. He plays zone so much better. Let's say we're back with Dungy in the Tampa 2, Steven Nelson would be the perfect corner for the Tampa 2. You don't have a lot of secondaries running a ton of zone, unless they're young, because it's easier. But reality is, he's 31. He's got good height, but he's seemingly lost. He's lost a little bit of skip in his step when it comes to speed, and then also lost the ability to be able to really go get the ball. He's not as quick. His acceleration reaction is slower. So I do think he's going to get signed. It may not be until training camp and an injury, but I do think he will get signed. A guy that I don't know if he's going to get signed or not, Calais Campbell. 38 years old. 38-year-old defensive tackle Calais Campbell. I remember when he was drafted to the Jaguars, for goodness sakes. My thought here is really simple. Somebody's going to want a veteran presence. Like OBJ, I'm looking at him as more of a week 9 type signing. He's a Fletcher Cox. He's that defensive tackle, older presence. If the Rams find out that they just need something more. Just need something more. That's what I think this is. I think if you're a team that just needs that little bit of help on the defensive line come week 9, that's who's going to sign Calais Campbell. Then you've got the 33-year-old Stephon Gilmore. I don't know why the Colts don't go back and try to re-sign him. Maybe they have and he said no. I don't know. But he is 33 years old. He is 33 years old. The reality with this is he's not a young buck here. He may need to move to safety to really lengthen his career. Not going to lie, he may need to do that. I don't know. It is one of those things that's kind of weird. I think he's still valuable, and I am slightly shocked that he's not signed already. All right, receiver, 28-year-old Hunter Renfrow. Listen, I love playing him in MLB The Show. Guy was a good baseball player. He's a good slot guy. Now, he's not a burner. But you know what? A team like Buffalo, they got Khalil Shakir, Curtis Samuel. They're definitely gonna be drafting a receiver. Hunter Renfrow could be a sure-handed guy for Josh Allen. He could be the new slot for Joe Burrow. The Baltimore Ravens would probably take a look. I don't think they need him, but they would take a look. He deserves to be on a team. He's only 28 years old. He's not washed. He had a huge season a couple of years ago in 2022. So last year he got stuck with a bad quarterback, fell out of the offense. I think he just needs a place to revive his career. Not going to lie. I really do. All right, the next one is Mason Cole, the center from the Steelers. One of the rare centers that are currently available. My guess is he's going to go to the backup role, may get spot starts depending on what happens. Not too much there. Just not too much. I think they're going to... Yeah, I don't think he's going to be re-signed by the Steelers. But it's an offensive lineman, and offensive lineman depth is proving to be needed. So he should get a contract to be a backup somewhere. Ezekiel Elliott, my thoughts are go back to Dallas. I can't lie. My thoughts with Ezekiel Elliott are go back to Dallas. Why, you may ask? Because you might as well be there for Dak's demise. I know. There's people out there like, Dak is not that bad of a quarterback. You know what? Then win. win something. Like, the thing with Peyton was he couldn't win a ton in the playoffs. He won in the playoffs. He couldn't beat New England. That can't beat anybody. Sorry, an aging team in the Tampa Bay Buccaneers with a Tom Brady that, let's just be honest, couldn't move anymore. The brain only wins for so long. You know, the way that he loses, how badly they lose, how bad he looks against every team. At home in a dome. At home in a dome, he looks bad. And you can't. But nonetheless, I think Ezekiel Elliott, 1 year, $3 million deal, no $5 million. Once again, same thing. I think it's perfectly plausible. All right, the next guy. I can't believe this guy is this low on this list. Xavier Howard. I loved this kid out of college. I know he's not a kid anymore. He's 31 years old. However, I loved this guy out of college. And really, I do wish the Colts would go sign him. Right now, veteran presence. Look for a team. The Rams already signed Tre'Davious White. Look for another team to sign him to be a veteran presence in that secondary for him. The 49ers could. The Lions could, especially with the Cameron Sutton stuff. I think they're going to draft a corner, but they could use an experienced corner if the stuff with Sutton ends up being enough for them to cut him. The Packers, Vikings, there's a couple teams that I believe will be able to use Howard. David Bakhtiari, I believe, is going to fully retire. I think he's been injured too much. The Jets signed Tyron Smith. They didn't sign Bakhtiari. I don't know if any team's going to touch him with how badly he's been injured, how often he's been injured. Often does come into play. We all know this. So, there's a lot of things that go into this. I don't know where it's going to be. Let's just leave it there for now. Mekhi Becton, the offensive tackle from the Jets, basically a bust. He's inconsistent as all get out. But everybody, like I said, offensive line, everybody needs depth. He may not get signed before the year starts. He may get signed once injuries happen, but I think he'll eventually get there. Trey Herndon, the corner from the Jaguars, he's 28 years old. Okay? He's basically been a slot guy. He doesn't have, he doesn't have an interception in quite a few years. But, here's the thing. Corner, 28, professional, experience. He does have versatility in what he does. I believe he'll get signed. The next one on the list is Ryan Tannehill, quarterback from the Titans. I don't know. I don't know why you'd sign Tannehill. The guy is uncomfortable with pressure. He's a lot like Carson Wentz. Will Levis is definitely better than him at this point. Ryan Tannehill got his money. Jimmy Garoppolo was signed before him by the Rams. You would think that Ryan Tannehill would be kind of Matthew Stafford light. Well, he's kind of the same player as Jimmy Garoppolo. You're just not sure the arm's there. That's what happens when you played multiple sports. So I don't know if he's going to get signed. He probably will, but it's going to take an injury. All right, offensive tackle, Charles Leno Jr. He's been in the league for 10 years, 141 starts. He's having hip surgery this offseason, which is why a lot of people believe he will not get signed before the year kicks back up. It will be a during the season signing. Also a during the season signing probably will be Michael Gallup. He's definitely had his issues. I mean, honestly, if I'm the Cowboys, I just try to bring him back again. You might as well. Give Dak the weapons he needs. Wide receiver Brian Pringle is also a free agent still. The center, Connor Williams from the Dolphins. This one, if he could be healthy, he'd be a lot better. But his durability is in some major question. And I mean major question. He'll get signed. But I think he's going to be a spot starter because he can play both center and guard, which is huge. Absolutely huge. All right, we got a couple of safeties here. We got Quandre Diggs from the Seahawks. Honestly, I don't know why he's not signed. Why are the safeties not being signed? This is not a great year for safeties in the draft. Why are safeties not being signed? Guys that can make a difference being the captain from the back end. You got your middle linebacker who's the play caller and the captain in the core, but you need somebody that's in that back end, that secondary, which is now most of the time 5 people strong, to be able to man and watch for what's going to happen. Quandre Diggs needs to be signed. He is too good of a player not to have a contract. He'll get signed. Another safety, Tayshaun Gibson Sr. Now he's 34. He's going to get signed midway through the year. But that's if he chooses to. The 49ers may actually sign him because Hufanga is recovering from the injury. So the 49ers may still end up signing him. Depends on what they get in the draft. 2 guards. Mark Lewinsky, who had a solid run with the Colts, got the paycheck from the Giants, and just kind of lost it. But like I said, you lose it when your quarterback is so bad. Everybody knows it. So all they did was just blitz and blitz and blitz and blitz and blitz. Same with Dalton Risner, the guard for the Vikings. He's not as good as Lewinsky. I don't think he's got the run blocking power that Lewinsky does. Kirk Cousins goes down. The teams just blitzed and blitzed and blitzed and blitzed and blitzed and basically took you out of the playoff race really quickly. Can't blame you. Levi Wallace was the corner with the Steelers last year. He will get a veteran contract before the season starts. Jeff Swaim, tight end for the Cardinals. Tight ends, there's rookies coming out. I'm not so sure. He may have to wait a little bit. Dalvin Cook, I'm sure he was hoping to already have a deal. This could be another place the Cowboys go. The Cowboys don't have a running back right now. They don't have a running back. Ezekiel Elliott, Dalvin Cook, I think both of them would be very good options for the Cowboys to go and get. Cornerback Adoree Jackson, he's really relegated to a 3rd corner, maybe 4th corner at this point. See what happens after the draft, and I think that's when you'll see him kind of come around. Tyler Boyd, his injuries are what scares you. He's been so injured, you don't know what to do with him. There's teams that would take a flyer on him. There's plenty of teams that'll take a flyer on him. But he's been so injured, it's got to be for the right. It's got to be for the right amount of money, and I'm not sure who it is right now. Another guy like Calais Campbell, William Golston, defensive tackle that played with the Buccaneers last year. I think this is another guy. If I'm him, I'm waiting till midway through the season and then be like, all right, who needs me? Come in and be fresh in week 10 to be able to play, make the push for the playoffs, and play hard in the playoffs. That's exactly what I would do if I was him. He's 33 years old. And then you've got 28-year-old. This is a fall from grace really quickly. This trade killed the Jets and killed the Seahawks. Like, there was Jamal Adams. He's 28, guys. 28. We're what? 3 years? 3 years? 4 years removed from him being a really good safety. Lost something in Seattle. I don't know where he needs to go to find it. I really don't. Probably a defensive system that allows you to roam. Atlanta may end up trying to see what they can do to be able to bring him in as the nickel safety. Remember, they're running the Rams defense this year. So bring him as a nickel safety. You could do that. I could easily see, I could see the Giants trying to make a run at him. I could see Jacksonville may make a run at him. I could see Las Vegas making a run at him. There's a couple teams that could make a run at him. I don't think he's this far down on the list as far as being needed. Justin Simmons is easily number one. But Jamal Adams is 28. 28 years old. Yes, he's had some injuries. He's 28 years old. The Giants re-signed Isaiah Simmons, the safety / linebacker that I think is outrageously underused. If he was in DeMeco Ryans defense or a Spagnuolo defense or just take your pick, Raheem Morris, just the Rams / Falcons defense, the Pittsburgh defense, I think Isaiah Simmons would be a gem to have. And it just kind of depends on where you end up going. It's really where it's at. All right. Guys, that's who's left. That is a quick list of who is left. Not bad. You got a lot of C free agents. Justin Simmons easily, I think, could still be in the A category. But you got a lot of C plus free agents. You got a couple of B plus free agents. Like I said, I think Quandre Diggs, Jamal Adams, they can still play. Andrus Peat, I look for him to be the next offensive lineman off the board. Mark Lewinsky, honestly, I think Buffalo should probably sign him to a 1-year, $2.5 million deal. They need offensive line help. So these will all be post-draft. All these signings are going to be post-draft. And we will see what happens after that. It's really all we can do. All right, guys, that is it. Where did they sign and who's left is done. We are sitting at basically just a little bit over a week from the NFL draft. It is ramping up. Can't wait. Can't wait for it. Super excited to see what happens. And there we go. Or I guess we're 2 weeks away. Sorry, we're 2 weeks away. I'm pushing my gap. Oh, hold it. No, today would be yes, a little over a week away. There we go. There we go. All right, guys. Absolutely appreciate you guys hanging out. And not sure what we're going to do next. Sitting here thinking about it, I'm like, hold it. I've done all these. Now what do we do next? Well, honestly, it's just going to be draft talk at this point. Not going to lie. I know it gets old. I know it gets boring. You know what? Maybe I'll do a rankings. I'll do my rankings for the position players, and then we'll go through, and we'll probably go through each team, and we'll go through the needs of each team. Post free agency, the needs of each team. Yeah, I got a couple ideas. We got a couple ideas to be able to see what we can do. So, I don't know what tomorrow's episode is going to be, but I will see you then. Whatever it may be, whatever I decide we're going to do. Thank you guys so much for stopping by. Make sure to hit that subscribe button, hit that like button for me, and ring that notification bell so you guys know when I release a video. Been doing a little bit better here, get a little more consistent, been able to get ahead, which is why I'm trying to figure out exactly what time it is for you guys that it'll be for until the draft. So, big thing. Here we go. Running everything down, and we are ready to go. But, guys, for this episode of Sports Talk with Hawk, that is all for today. I am Hawk, and I am out.